took the liberty to start sewing, and I have sewn around the arch here on all 3 pieces. My sewing machine. Go to my sewing machine. All right, so I've also, from all 3, I've stitched around the arch. 1, 2, 3. And one of them, which is going to be the pocket, I folded over 2 times on this edge right here. Fold it twice, like that. And you stitch across here. And then this is what this finished product looks like. It's stitched. All right, so then we open this up. Open up. This one's going to be my middle layer. So open that up.
I'm trying to show your hands.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So facing up, you'll have it curved up. You see the edges kind of curved up. So face up and pattern facing me. Same thing, I'll put this pattern facing
Can you
me.
see the people in chat?
And open up the little,
I don't know why.
the little seam and match it to the other seam. Open that up. Take your other outer layer and you're going to keep this one inside out. So you're going to put the pattern to the right facing touching. So this is the inside part. And match up all your seams and pin. Open up my seams.
Go ahead and tell them that they can ask questions. This is just such a small group.
Yes,
just
feel
go ahead,
free.
unmute.
Feel free to ask any questions. How do you unmute them?
Just unmute yourself if y'all know how to unmute yourself, since it's a small group, and just ask questions as we go. I'm not going to be able to do the chat.
Matching up these seams. So I think this sewing class was meant for us to sew together, but I don't see how that could happen. And I like using these clips. Have you guys used these little clips?
Yes, I love them.
I love these too. So I just clip these and then you have everything kind of lined up now. And the next part, because I like to use a little wire. So these are just kind of like, these are just like these little floral wires that you can use. I don't know, can you see that? And I've turned the edges in to make a loop. So what I do is I cut a little piece of fabric that's just slightly longer than the nose wire. It's got some edge there. And I'm gonna use this one. I don't like this one. I'm gonna use this one. My husband cut these pieces, so they're not awesome. He was helping. So then you fold your piece in half like this. You iron it, but it looks like the iron didn't really work. And you find your middle. So fold that again, find your middle. Here's my middle. And you're gonna clip it on the inside here of the middle piece, middle layer. And then just pin that. Where are my clips? Here they are. Just gonna pin that. And I don't know what you guys like to use, elastics or ribbon, but
I just cut up t-shirts and stretch them, and it's so much more comfortable. I make a casing on the side of mine. I make those too, and it just makes it more comfortable. You can adjust it on your head. You throw it over the back of your hair. Just depends on how high your hair is, and then you just tie it behind your neck. Super comfortable, super easy. You don't have it hurting your ears. I stopped using the elastic a while ago because it takes your ears and just pops them forward. It just makes them sore.
Well, I've got these cut to 7 inches because I'm making a women's one.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to start kind of right here. It's kind of midway. So right here is where I'm going to start my seam.
Do you have to use the wires?
The wires, I do because it gives a really, you can pinch it
Seal it
and
better.
and really seal this in. Because you, I don't know. I suppose
I'm
you
just
have to.
okay. For some of us who don't have the, like, you know, you can't go out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just wondering if you have to use the wires.
If you don't use the wire, it's fine. It's
Mhm.
just a little bit looser, but
Okay.
it's fine.
Okay.
So
If you have pipe cleaners work but you have to triple the pipe cleaner because if not, the pipe cleaners are so thin they'll break. But if you have like twist ties for your garden bags, you can use those too.
Okay. Mhm.
So I've backstitched and stitched to the corner, and I'm gonna put my elastic in there. I
Where
shove
do you
it.
buy those wires?
I got mine at Walmart actually, but you can buy them at Amazon and everything else. They're called. They're just like a 20 gauge wire, is what it is. So I've got my elastic all the way up to the top here, just a little, probably about, I wish I had my ruler. It's just a little bit off the very edge, and I'm gonna stitch over that a couple of times. Got my elastic down here. It's just off, not all the way to the edge, but it's right there. Can you see?
Let me switch if I can switch over here.
It's just not all the way to the edge. I don't think they can see it, but it's right here. Yeah, they can see that. Okay. And so put my fabric down.
In what section in Walmart do you get the wires? Like automotives or?
Crafting, in the crafting section. Go back and forth over that a couple times. So don't forget we have the little nose piece lined up here, so I'm gonna make sure I grab onto that too. Just kind of. Now I would normally have it pinned, but I think we are limited on our time to 40 minutes on our Zoom, and I really want you to see Sister Hargrove's baby gowns. I needed to trim that. I have a little extra piece of fabric here that I don't need. Trimming that off. And my other elastic. Yeah, make sure that it ends up being straight and it's not twisted. Tuck that in. Put it all the way to the top, but just slightly off. Let's see. Right here at the bottom. This is not going to be the neatest one because I really didn't do very good at pinning. So I stopped right there, so I left a hole at the bottom so I can flip it over. I'm gonna just trim out these edges, cut these little corners a little bit so they can flip real nice. Now, Sister Hargrove taught me that you've got to clip on these arches but it's helpful to make it lay smooth. I'm going to slide my wire into this right now.
Do you have it closed on one end or is it not?
No, I haven't closed it, but I'm going to close it right now. So I'm just going to stitch right here on both sides.
So it doesn't come out.
Yeah, so that they don't come out. Just going to put a couple stitches here. But it doesn't have to be like, you know, really exact because you'll stitch over at the end as well.
Is there a way to put a filter into?
Yes, there's the pocket. Because there's 3 layers, there is a pocket that I have made. I'll show it to you in a second. And that filter I've been using is that MERV 13 HEPA filter. You know, my machine's gonna come unthreaded.
Of course.
But
Where's the one that you have? That I can see that? Oh, you have it already.
One of the things I've been using instead of a filter, I have been ironing on non-woven interfacing, and that actually will help so that you don't have to always use a filter. It ends up being 4 layers, and it's a nice stiff consistency, and so even when it's washed and scrubbed a lot, it doesn't really lose its shape.
see, I
So that's
was
another
doing
option, 'cause
that.
it makes it easier. It's like I've learned after making so many of these, it takes out several steps when I just ironed it on and then I can just trim it all up. I'm all about easy.
I like that. I was doing the interfacing when I did my pleated masks, but I just was not good at that. The pleats, and it would mess up with my machine. But I wanted to show you.
Pleats
So
are awful.
I don't know if you see just the little stitchings that I have on the 2 sides. And now we're going to turn it inside out. So this is the outside that I want, and this is the middle layer, and it's looks good. So I'll flip that over.
I don't know how you're doing such a good job holding that in place,
Really?
Laura.
I was
Yeah.
hoping.
No,
I like your
this is what
colors.
I'm watching is
Okay, good. Because I'm like, I don't even know if I'm doing this right. Show them that little pocket that someone asked about.
Yes, see there is a, here becomes the pocket for the filter.
You can't see it the way you're. Oh,
Oh.
right.
And goes all the way
Okay,
through.
there you go.
That's cool.
It's
And it has a
cute.
little cute little nose thing that's right there, so it shapes real well. So the last thing that I have to do here is just to top stitch it and close the
you can show that
seams.
on one of your finished ones.
Yep. So here, where's that red one that I want? So yes, this is the finished product. It's top stitched all the way around the nose, just on top of here. And then one more time, I stitched back and forth a couple times on both ends of the rod that's in there to kind of make sure double hold it in place. And this is what it will look like. And
That
here's
is so cool.
the filter pocket.
I like your fabric choice.
I know,
That's fun.
because all the store ran out of the cheap stuff, and all I could find was $11 and $12 a yard.
It ought to look nice.
But that is my math tutorial. Now I want to introduce to you Miss Pamela Hargrove. You didn't let me tell you how wonderful she is.
I'm waiting to hear how wonderful.
Oh,
I am.
okay. Hold a
I
second.
wanted to tell you.
Sherry
about
wants to
Sister
tell her.
Hargrove. She has been teaching the small group sewing classes for such a long time. She has, for me, when I came to her, I did not even know how to thread my machine. And I'm sewing masks. I'm so proud of me. But I couldn't
I'm proud of you too.
I couldn't be here without her. And she does an amazing job donating to all the NICU babies with the gowns and blankets. And her work and her ministry is outstanding. And I just want you to meet her. Oh yes, send the email if you would like my pattern. But Sister Hargrove also has a pattern for her baby gowns, and I'm gonna let her. She's the expertise. She has sewn the most beautiful gowns that I've ever seen. I've never seen anybody so talented. But to Sister Hargrove, thank you so much for your time.
I want to apologize to the ladies that just joined. I'm sorry. I'm trying to do the camera and the chat, and I missed that y'all were waiting in the room. We just finished making a mask since everyone's needing them. There will be a pattern. If you just get in the chat and put your email address, we'll send it to you. To the ladies, again, I apologize that just joined and missed it. We are recording it. And if you maybe even tell me you missed it, we'll make sure that we send the video to you so you can watch it even though we missed. So we'll go to Sister Pam.
Okay, I'm gonna lay my phone down.
Okay.
So, hi everyone. I'm gonna try to be brief and fast, and I'm not known for either one of those things. So, my name is Pam Hargrove, and I lead a small group here at First Church that's probably in about its like 6th semester. It's called Developing Dorcas. And if you're familiar with the story of Dorcas, then you understand why we named it that. My mother was a seamstress, but didn't teach me to sew. She made me grow up and want to learn it on my own. Sewing's a skill. Anyone can learn it. If you can drive a car or learn to follow a recipe, then you can learn to sew. You just have to want it as badly as you wanted to drive when you were a teenager. So the key factor is to start with something simple and build on your skills. So we started making baby blankets and baby gowns and donate them to the NICU. We've since added a few other items, and after 2020 we will have masks as one of the items, and we do all of our practice on these items and donate them to our local NICU, so or hospitals or clinics or whatever. So it's a win-win-win. I'm teaching people to sew, which is a skill that they can take and use in all of their life, and then we're creating items that give us an opportunity to outreach into the community. So if you want to know any more information about that, we're on Facebook. It's Developing Dorcas. So you can find us there and join our group, and I'll put updates and things on there. Anyway, I just realized that I didn't actually bring a finished gown because I was going to finish one here. I didn't realize we would be in quite such a time constraint as we are.
We'll see if we
But
have extra time.
anyhow, do you want to direct this down at you want Sherry to hold it, or?
Well, I was just trying to write down the emails. That's the only
Okay.
reason why I was trying to
Okay. So, all right. Any lightweight fabric will do to make these tiny little gowns for the babies. I brought these two as an example of paying attention before you start cutting out your fabric. If you have a one-way design, this floral is all over the place, so you can turn it any direction and it works. But this piece of fabric, you don't want half of your gown set for the teepees to be standing on their head. So if teepees have heads, you get what I'm saying. So I use this piece as an example, and I have my little gown pinned on here. And this pattern is also available. I can mail it to you directly. It's a paper pattern. I use plastic painting drop cloth to cut out copies of it so I don't deteriorate my plastic one. These can be pinned and unpinned hundreds of times and they'll still hold up. Plus it gives you the benefit of being able to see your design through the gown. But there's three pieces here. There's a front that's open down the middle, and we open them down the middle and just fasten a couple of snaps at the top. That way the babies, if they have leads or wires attached to their chest or abdomen, it's open. The back piece is cut on the fold here, and then there are two sleeves. And so we will move over here and I'll show you what it looks like when it is all cut out. So the first thing that you need to do when you get your pieces all cut out is pin your sleeves together, okay? This is, kind of looks strange. This is the neckline. This is what's called a raglan sleeve. Like think of baseball jersey has a raglan sleeve. So this is your neck. This is attached to the front, this attaches to the back, and this makes your underarm. So when it's closed, it looks like this. So you will take these pieces and lay them together. And I'm going to just grab a pen here, just give a quick little pen just to show you what it looks like. You always want to point your pen the direction that you're going to start sewing. So I usually start at the neck and stitch down. So make sure those points, the head is towards you and the pen is going towards the sewing machine. Okay, so you want to check and make sure that you've got everything in the right direction before you start sewing, because we don't want to have to get a seam ripper and pick anything out either, do we? The other thing to cut, and this is just a piece of, I actually bought a 5-pack of 3X men's t-shirts, and I could cut 60 collars out of one shirt. So this is just a little piece of stretchy cotton knit that will make the collar to close the neck on the gown when we're finished. So that's all that you cut, is a front, 2 fronts, a back, and 2 sleeves, and a collar. So before you stitch the gown together, you stitch the shoulders, and then you're going to turn up a little narrow hem, and I just turn it up one time and use a zigzag stitch to close it, because these are preemie gowns. These aren't gowns that are going to be washed and worn numerous times for months at a time. Hopefully that baby's going to outgrow these gowns very, very quickly, because that's the goal for them. Let me tell you briefly, one of the reasons why I started doing this is because the parents and the grandparents, if the babies are healthy enough to be held, nurses tell me they will come earlier, they will stay later, they will hold the babies more when they have clothes to put on them, because it makes them a little less scary. They're more like a baby that you want to hold and love on than a science project that you're afraid to touch because you might break it, when they're just laying there unclothed, maybe even just laying on top of a diaper because they're so tiny the diapers don't fit. You had a preemie, didn't you? Mm-hmm. So you can testify to that aspect of it. When you have clothes to put on them, it's a whole different ball game.
I mean, even preemies are too small. Preemie sizes are too small.
Yeah, the preemies, there didn't used to be any preemie clothes
it's hard
available,
to find even now.
But now they're scarce, and they're more like your 3 to 4 pound babies. Our small size will fit a baby that's under a pound. So I've got a warning sign here that says I'm running out of time, 10 minutes.
Let's see what happens. Upgrade.
I'll probably want you to whip out a credit card. So I will keep talking.
Not.
So once you have hemmed both sleeves and hemmed the front edge of the gown, again, it's just turned under with a zigzag stitch. I'm going to get that up real close so that you can see it. Then you pin the underarm seam, which goes from the sleeve edge all the way down. And that's what I've done here. I've stitched all the way along there. And then I went over the edge with a zigzag just to keep it from fraying or being rough. And look, Sherry, I clipped the curve so that when you turn it right side out, it looks a lot nicer that way. Okay. And so here's one that I have, I've done all 4 of the sides, and I think I'm going to have time to put the collar on and show you.
Lovely.
Da, 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 da. Okay, I'm going to come around here to the sewing machine real quick. Everybody still with us? Anybody have any questions about the gowns or anything that we're doing? Anybody? Okay, I'll just keep going. Do you want to do this? You might be more comfortable with your machine than I am.
No,
Machines are like cars. No matter how many years I've been sewing, and I've been sewing professionally now for 39 years. And
she makes beautiful things.
Let me undo that so you don't get
but it's just like no matter how long you've been driving, if you borrow somebody's car, you get in it and you feel all like, where are all these bells and whistles coming from, and what do I do with them? Anyway, this little flat collar here is, we fold it in half the long way, and ironing can help it not want to curl up on you so much. And you just barely, can y'all see this? Am I close enough? You stitch just across the end. Oh, I've got two angles here. You stitch right across the end and then clip this off to get the bulk out of it. You can't stitch that close to the edge because your needle will just yank the fabric down into the abyss, the hole. And so once you clip it, then you turn it right side out, and you have two finished edges like that.
Do you go with the stretch on that one?
Yes, you want to go with the stretch because it's actually going to help kind of draw that neckline up a little bit, because the babies are so tiny and their shoulders aren't very wide. Yeah. So at this point, you have turned your corners right side out. And if you, like I said, if you iron it, we had trouble with the iron, so I can't iron it for you. But I fold it in half to find the middle point. So now I have the middle of it marked.
What did she do?
Julissa, welcome. We're sewing preemie gowns right now. If you send us your email address, we'll make sure to send you the patterns.
So I know where it's at. Okay, you want to get right up on what I'm doing? Okay. I also had ironed the front facing. There's a marking on the pattern that shows you where the fold for the front is at. I ironed it on both sides, and I pinned that center point of the collar to the middle center point of the back. Okay, remember that back piece was cut on the fold, so if you just leave that crease there, it'll show you where your middle point is. So I'm going to make
No, she's not that many people on. But I'll watch what she's doing. Oh yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, this fold here. Who am I playing to? I'm just going to talk and y'all get it. I'm going to put that seamed edge of that collar right up to that fold and flip it back over. I'm going to do the same thing on the opposite side there. I think there's actually on our Developing Dorcas Facebook page, there's actually, I think, a video in the files of me doing it. It's not a better quality video because it's very homemade, but you can play it over and over again just in case this one. So I'm just going to go along. I kind of use my ring finger and the heel of my hand to hold this and stretch it out. So because your gown is a woven, it's only going to open up so far. Your stretchy collar is going to stretch beyond what the neck of the gown does. And that's what you want to have happen. Now these gowns can be made out of stretch fabrics, but we work with fabric that is donated. And so we kind of take what we can get. So we've made all kinds of baby gowns. And my mother would have been mortified. She thought babies could only wear white and pastels. But we've put them in jalapeno peppers and the Dallas Cowboys and the Astros fabrics, real popular with the dads for their little boys especially. So
We have someone else joining us.
Okay, welcome.
Iris.
I don't know if you tried earlier and couldn't get in. We were a little bit late starting, so we hope that you can get most of this. So this is what it looks like. If you can see that when I've got it pinned all the way across and those facings turned back over the edge. And I'm going to try
Let's make sure.
Sherry's-
This is gonna get you now.
Sherry's fancy smancy machine. It's much nicer than mine is. So, okay, I'm going to take out the first pin. She's got to sit on a little bitty stitch.
Fix it.
I don't know how. I'll just do it. I'll just be careful.
I think it's on it too.
And I'm just kind of using the edge of the presser foot here as my guide and lining it up to the raw edge of the gown. And you'll notice I pin perpendicular and I stitch over the pins. If you're not comfortable doing that, I totally understand. Some people like to pin parallel to the edge and just move the pins out, but I don't have enough hands for that. I only know how to use the 2 hands I've got. So I also kind of turn the seam there will be 4 sleeve seams, 2 for each sleeve. I turn those towards the sleeve. So as I'm stitching this, I'm stretching it as far as the gown fabric will let me stretch it. Knowing that my collar fabric is going to stretch out and do fine. Make sure that is all the way underneath. There's your, really hid that back stitch up underneath there, didn't they?
Yes. It's right here.
Oh, sorry. See, everything's in a different place. Throw all those pins out. Now, for the sake of time, I'm not going to go back over that with a zigzag. I would normally zigzag it, but right now I'm just going to show you. I clip that the beginning and the end kind of at an angle to thin out the bulk. And I just reach in and pull out my collar. And see, I have a very finished little edge there because I turned that facing back over the collar. And then to make it look even better, what do I do here, Sherry? Do you know? What comes next? Edge stitching.
Oh.
Yes. If you edge stitch along this, it looks really finished and